Hi, this is Christopher Perrin. I'd like to give you just a word from Proverbs 2 that might be relevant to your role as an educator, if you are an educator. Proverbs 2 is a tremendous passage regarding education. I'm just going to read to you a few verses. Ask yourself what you think these verses might have to do with the educational enterprise. My son, if you receive my words and treasure up my commandments within you, making your ear attentive to wisdom and inclining your heart to understanding. Yes, if you call out for insight and raise your voice for understanding, if you seek it like silver and search for it as hidden treasure, then you will understand the fear of the Lord and find the knowledge of God. For the Lord gives wisdom, from his mouth come knowledge and understanding. He stores up sound wisdom for the upright. He is a shield to those who walk in integrity, guarding the paths of justice and watching over the way of his saints. What does that have to do with education? Well, first, let me ask you this. Did you notice the conditional clause in that passage? There's a kind of if-then logic that's present. If my son would do this, then something would follow. Do you want your sons and daughters to acquire wisdom, knowledge, and discretion? Of course we do. In fact, in classical education, the classical tradition of education, wisdom and eloquence and virtue are considered to be the chief ends of the entire educational enterprise of forming and nurturing a human soul. Yes, a big yes for wisdom. But how do we attain it? Well, there's a short course on how you can do that, and just for $19.95, I can send it to you. No, there is no short course to attaining wisdom, but there's one key condition that every son and daughter must fulfill if they are going to grow wise. Did you see it in that passage? If you seek it like silver and search for it as hidden treasures, then you will understand the fear of God, and so on. This is something that educators often miss, Christian educators. We think that if we energetically present lessons to our children, we cover the content of the chapters, we assess them regularly, that they will over time grow wise. But this passage says there's one thing that must happen if there's going to be wisdom, and that's that your own son or daughter must cry out for it as if it were silver or hidden treasure. They must long for it. They must ask for it. They must pray for it, or it will not come. This is where there's a soulish component to education at its deepest root that requires the motion of our will to call out for wisdom from God, to call out for illumination and understanding. So let me ask you this. Do you sit down with your own children and pray with them for wisdom? I know a lot of Christian educators that do just that. Let's pray, let's pray, let's pray. But never exhort their son and daughter to do personal business with God and cry out for wisdom as if it were hidden treasure. If that's not happening, I would argue you don't really have a true student. Because a student at its root, and I'm thinking of the Latin here from the Latin word studium, which means zeal and eagerness. A student at its root is someone who is zealous and eager for knowledge and wisdom. So part of what we must do, therefore, is cultivate somehow a longing and a thirst for wisdom in our children so that they themselves call out for it, cry out for it, as if it were treasure that they desperately wanted. So, as I said, for $19.95, I can send you the book that will give you the formula for how that happens. How does that happen? I think it happens primarily by modeling. That's by you yourself loving, calling out, and crying out for wisdom, because you never stop with that. And exhorting your children to pray with you. And also just laying before them as at the root of all study is this issue. Are you seeking truth, which is to seek God himself? And knowing that you are fallen and needy, are you asking for help in that enterprise? Because if you're not doing that, you will never grow wise. Lewis said that in our schools, if we teach logic without cultivating affections, we just produce more clever devils. So a classical curriculum will produce clever devils unless we are also cultivating souls who are crying out for the wisdom of God. So in conclusion, let me just read this again. Now that you've thought about this, perhaps, maybe for the first time, listen to these verses again. My son, if you receive my words and treasure up my commandments within you, making your ear attentive to wisdom and inclining your heart to understanding. Yes, if you call out for insight and raise your voice for understanding, if you seek it like silver and search for it as hidden treasure, then you will understand the fear of the Lord and find the knowledge of God. For the Lord gives wisdom, and from his mouth come knowledge and understanding. If you read the rest of the passage, you'll see that a number of other things come. Protection from the adulteress, protection from falling into other kinds of company involved in evil and wicked activities. All kinds of wonderful, good things happen. But it won't happen until your own son and daughter personally call out for it as if it were silver or hidden treasure. May God bless you as you enable and seek to enable them to do just that. Thanks a lot.